In this video, I'd like to discuss a few of the basics on how to get started with a meditation practice. I've had quite a few students ask me about how to work on or develop their mindfulness practice. And in a world full of distractions, depression, frustration, and stress, this can be something that the new science regarding it is showing us to be very effective at helping us reduce stress and make some positive changes even in the physiology of the brain itself. There's many traditions, some of them hundreds of years old. There's various rituals and visualizations that you can use. But I'd like to just start with some of the basics and share with you some things that I find are helpful for myself in my own personal practice. I find that when life is spinning out of control, that centering yourself with a regular practice of 10 minutes of meditation in the morning, 10 minutes of meditation in the evening, usually upon rising and before resting, is one of the most effective methods. It does require consistency, and that's the tough thing for a lot of people. Is a lot of times if you're depressed or you're stressed and you want to get rid of that, it's like an exercise program where you're really looking to improve your shape and lose those 10 or 20 pounds that you've been wanting to lose for a long time. You'll throw yourself into a regimen, you'll go to the gym regularly, and then when you start to get results, or if you hit a wall and you're not getting any results, you'll quit. And the thing with meditation, as with a practice of regular exercise, is the benefits don't come until you make it part of your life and it's a regular ritual, it's a regular practice for you. So that's one of the pieces of advice that I would give is start small and work towards making it a part of your daily, if not weekly routine. And to establish a good habit, it takes 21 days or 6 weeks before you really start to solidify that into a regular behavior. So this is something that you need to consider when you're beginning this. But the practice doesn't have to develop perfectly overnight. It's a practice, not a perfect. So you just start with the basics. There are people who will practice seated meditation. They will meditate in various positions or postures. But I think the simplest advice is just get comfortable. Find a couch, try to find a quiet place. There's always going to be distraction and noises, but you can use that to deepen your mindfulness rather than to shake it. I would suggest that you start with a basic mindfulness meditation. Start with 2 or 3 very deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. This bookends your practice. And as you begin to practice your breathing, just pay attention to the sensation of the breath. Thoughts will arise, emotions will arise. Pay attention to them, note them, but try to avoid participating with them. I think the purpose behind mindfulness is to become a passive aware, passive observer of what's going on in your mind without actually participating with it. So you might start thinking of a grocery list or things you have to do at work or some event that occurred. And when that happens, notice it and then let it go. I really like the visualization of imagining that I'm a mountain. I like to do seated meditation, although sometimes I'll just relax on the couch and close my eyes and do a meditation in a very comfortable position that way. But in seated meditation, I like to imagine myself as a mountain, and below me is a stream. And I think of my thoughts as leaves on the stream as they go down the river. I release my attachment to them and let them flow away, and new thoughts and new emotions will arise. So you can set a timer. Although I found it once you get into this practice on a regular basis, it's fairly easy just to mentally say, I want to meditate for about 10 or 15 minutes. And you'll close your eyes, and a lot of times you'll open your eyes and you'll be really close to that mark. But you can set a timer. There's all kinds of apps that have meditation timers or chimes. Some people like to be aroused from their meditation in a very slow, mellow form as opposed to some harsh blaring alarm. So that's something you may want to consider. But I think the idea is that once you get into this practice, you start to be able to access it. So when your day starts getting stressful, or you're in traffic, or you're noticing that your voice is starting to become tense, or you're speaking faster, or you're raising your voice, or you're clenching your fists or your teeth, or whatever your indicators are for stress, you start to notice that. And then you can take that prelude to the meditation, the 3 deep breaths, and harness that for a momentary relief, a momentary relaxation, a way to just kind of relax your muscles, to deepen your breath, and to recenter your concentration. You'll have that lingering memory of your last meditation experience. Try to take yourself to that state of mind when you were at your most calm, and then apply that state of mind to the stressful situation that you're in. In other words, realize that the situation is temporary, that the emotions surrounding the situation is temporary, that there's no need to necessarily react or to heighten your emotions of stress, anger, fear, frustration, but to simply observe them and allow the moment to pass. If action's required, of course, take action. But I think this is part of the centering effect that makes it so effective, and why so many successful people have some type of meditation practice. It helps them to deal with those moments in life where it feels like everything's collapsing around them. So often that's just your perception at the moment. So if you can allow that perception to pass, then you can make a better decision in a state that's not so emotionally heightened. You can reaccess your reason or your intuition and apply that so that you make the best decision possible. I hope this helps. Again, the goal is simply to begin the practice, to be aware of the mind. There's no really right or wrong way to do it, but as you continue your research, I would highly recommend that you access a couple different works that I think are beneficial. Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman. It's a good book. It's fun. It's interesting, and it paints some of the Eastern traditions and practices in a very colorful, interesting way. Sean Aker wrote a book called The Happiness Advantage and talks about the advantages of meditation, some of the clinical research that goes into showing how this practice can help increase the happiness in your life. There's several articles in Psychology Today that you can look at and see some of the latest research on how this behavior changes cognition and the physiology of the brain, if you're interested in it on that level. And of course, there's many ancient traditions from Soto Zen to various forms of Buddhism to yoga. And as you read about these traditions and their practices, you'll learn more about the different varieties and ways to practice. So begin with the simple, and remember it's a practice, not a perfect, and keep working on it.